Welcome, everybody. Hello. Thank you for coming, and I would like to thank Coalition for Polish Innovation for having us here and having the opportunity to have this discussion today. So, I will start with a very short story. Actually, 25 years ago, a colleague came to me and said, I got to show something. Okay, what is it? He showed me a terminal, he typed in some characters, and he said, this message will appear on another computer in another country. I said, okay, how it's called? The internet. And I said, well, I don't think it's really interesting. So I'm telling this story because there is a law saying that we tend to underestimate influence of new technologies in long term. So I think that artificial intelligence will have a really great impact in the long term, and we should not underestimate this impact. So my first question to my panelists is about how do you think, in what fields, artificial intelligence changes the perception of what is possible?
Okay, my name is Bolesław Piasecki, as you can see. I represent World Studies University, and I like to elaborate a little bit on the influence of AI in the military domain. Because, as you probably know, military domain, military industry has been always on the frontier, very frontier of the technological progress. Actually, every single one of you got here by using something that military created for the military purposes and only then implemented into the civilian world, for instance, GPS or ABS in your cars. It was, of course, designed by the military. And it is essentially changing how we think about future battlefield. We don't know exactly how it would look like, but we know that it will be nothing like we've seen in the history. And it changes everything from chain of supply, intelligence, reconnaissance, autonomic weapons system, and so forth. And what is really important and what is actually a game changer in military is the fact that AI on the tactical level is more efficient with a core mission of military, which is ability to kill humans. So for couple thousand years, people killed each other using rocks, then up to nuclear devices today, and right now we are on the verge of something that we thought it was impossible, which is actually algorithm killing humans, and this is a huge step, and I'm not sure whether we want to take it.
All right, thank you. And Zaina, what's your perspective?
For sure. So I think artificial intelligence is going to have a huge impact in education and agriculture. So with education, we can actually use AI to completely replace teachers. So right now, teachers, the main use of them is teaching a lesson and marking tests and assignments. So I think we can use artificial intelligence to, first of all, teach lessons completely online. And we can use AI to actually mark the students' assignments. Students can ask questions, and it'll be able to provide a complete teaching experience that's way better and more streamlined and more accurate than the ones that we have right now.
Thank you. Olga?
Thanks. First of all, I would like to thanks for giving me opportunity to be here for Daga and for KPI, Koalicja na Rzecz Polskich Innowacji. It's really a pleasure to be here and to meet all those fantastic people in Infoshare. So just answering your questions, what are the biggest changes?
Where actually the perception changes, that now we start to see things that are possible that were not.
Yes, so I can share my perspective from working with the big companies like Microsoft and Accenture. We are working with the enterprise sector, and I can share some insights from this enterprises. So first of all, I need to say that on a everyday daily job, I can't see that this change is happening now within these enterprises. Of course, there are a lot of things that are going on, a lot of projects, but they are more in the first phase. I think that to the implementation that will change, we need some more time. Basically, we are working into 3 areas. The first area is that this AI can help to automate and improve these repetitive tasks. but some people don't assume that this is AI. This is like a robotic process automation, so we're just like moving it out of the AI scope. The second area that we are working in is connected with staff augmentation, people augmentation, and this assistance. And this is the most controversial thing, because this is the area then robots will take human jobs. Yes, and we need to be careful with this. And the third one, which is the most important, I think the most interesting in this kind of event like Infoshare, is this innovation and disruptive. But this requires for the business to change assumptions of the business model. We need to put everything once again to think how our businesses and processes is working and how can we change it with AI, and then it can be a game changer for the whole industry. And the industry is like the last thing that I want to say, that the industry that we can see that AI is changing the most, I think that this is the financial sector. Wow, maybe, yes, but it's lots of projects in this sector. It's also health, and I assume that all of you have seen all those startups. There are lots of startups connected with AI in health. Traveling and logistic, and we could see today presentation delivered by Mark, yes, about the robots. And the last area that I can see that there is a lot of changes is HR, when we can use AI algorithm to help target and position the right people on the right position and develop their careers. There are lots of projects running this. And last thing that I want to say is, like, when I came to Accenture nine months ago, one really smart guy told me, you know, when the company have invested in AI 2 years ago, they have done this too early. But if they do it in another 2 years, they will never catch up their competition. So the moment is actually right now.
Fully agree. And please, Piotr, also.
Okay. My name is Piotr Benka. I am CTO at IBM. And from my perspective, I see there are lots of changes. So we are doing worldwide lots of AI projects, and we see how we are impacting almost all industries. So all industries are trying to apply this technology because the industries need be more efficient. What was mentioned, we are extending humans being capabilities. We help, for example, create new fragrances. So we are creating systems which are extending creativity of people. So that's one of the examples how we are impacting and how AI is impacting the industries. I think that AI is changing dramatically the way how we are interacting with technology. Using natural language, we are just dealing with technology like with another person. So it will extend the pace of adoption of technology in the future, definitely. And of course, another area is the way how we are processing data, the way how we are creating systems. In the past, it was we are coding the system. Right now, we are more and more closer to the time when we will develop system based on the data. So the data will create the functionality of systems. So it will reduce significantly time to market in the future. So that's of course, there are much more influences of AI on impacts on different industries and the way how we are interacting with technology. Yeah.
Thank you. I must add that personally, for instance, I'm amazed with what's happening with natural language processing, and today we even say natural language understanding. And this exactly works the way you said, like 2 years ago, when you have an almost ready technology, it means it will not happen. I mean, the chatbots are really, I would say, crappy, yeah? You can try the chatbot, do the demo POC, but they are not ready. But once the natural language processing capabilities are equal to human, then you have boom, and you realize that the total disruption in the industry. You don't need people in, for instance, customer service, at least in some processes. So I call it avocado model. Like it's not yet, not yet, not yet, boom, ripe, and then it changes everything. So, Bolesław, if I can come back to you, you told about using AI, for instance, in the military, but as people say, with a great power comes great responsibility, because it's not only opportunities, yes, there could be also some threats. How do you think we can approach the responsibility of having AI?
No? Yes, exactly. So think about the catchphrase disruptive innovations. Is this disruptive toward what? Industry, okay. Market, okay. But it's also disruptive toward societies. And I think it's all underestimated, and we should devote much more research and much more thinking into the field of this intersection between society and AI. Why? Because, first of all, technological progress is very difficult to grasp, because we cannot, it's decentralized, so it's one person cannot really know what's going on everywhere, or even one institution, because some of it is hidden. And second of all, we are actually very bad at assessing social consequences of technology. Why? Because we don't know, we don't understand actually how society works. There is different theories, and there is no one ultimate truth, even though we are using these disruptive technologies that are changing very much the society, that we know. So, as you said, with great power comes great responsibility, and I believe AI in this domain is a tool. It can be super helpful in education, in detection of depression among adolescents, but at the same time it can be very effective in bad things. And what is really absolutely important is the question whether we want to bring AI to the core values of our society. So, for instance, one of the greatest achievements of Western civilization is a free speech. Whether we want to outsource this power of limiting our freedom to AI, because it can be very effective. It can be very effective at other things that are actually reserved for human. It's a great question that we cannot run for. We cannot be just start at the technology and look what it promises. We have to look also on the threats, because we cannot actually imagine what will be the consequences on the whole society, and we have to make sure that within this technological progress we remain true to the principle that technology is for human, not human for technology.
Thank you. Zaina, how do you think which industries will be impacted most?
So I think there are two main industries that will be impacted the most and the quickest by AI: law and finance. So with law, a huge chunk of lawyers' time is spent just doing paperwork and going through case files. So we can use natural language processing to actually go through all these files and cut down 70 to 80% of the lawyers' time that they actually spend right now and pick out the key information that they actually need. I think that's one huge use of AI that will be able to just create a whole more bunch time for lawyers. And with finance, a huge thing right now is algorithmic trading. So you can actually get machine learning algorithms to predict stock prices, and it does this way better and way more accurately than humans can right now. So I think these are the two industries that are going to get impacted really, really quickly by artificial intelligence.
Do you think in the area of law especially, because short-term advantage is of course getting rid of this paperwork and, let's say, automation of basic manual tasks. Do you think that we can reach the moment where we also use AI to create law?
Maybe. That's an interesting perspective. I think that's a huge ethical question as well, because right now as humans we've been able to create our own laws based on our actions, but getting a machine to create laws, that's a whole other thing that I don't think that will actually ever happen, just because we always need that human connection and that human perspective on our own actions. I don't think we can get a machine or an algorithm to create laws for us.
Thank you. It's especially important when we talk about the bias, yeah, because the artificial intelligence is trained usually on the data provided by human. The question is, what if we are biased, yeah? If we have some areas in the world when the law is unjust, do we want to create artificial intelligence that will replicate this lack of justice? Thank you. Okay, Olga. So I know that you specialize in the field of cybersecurity. So let's say if in this round we talk a little bit about threats and about, let's say, countermeasures to those threats, how do you think? How artificial intelligence will impact existing attack vectors, and will artificial intelligence create new cyber threats?
Thank you for this question. I think that this is a really important topic, and it is quite underestimated during this debate about artificial intelligence. Everybody is talking about jobs and working and how it's impact our everyday life. And I think that this topic about cyber threats is quite underestimated. But I don't want to be on the other side. I don't want to be like more hard on this, because let's be honest and truly speaking. If I were a cyber criminal or a bad actor, I wouldn't have to go for AI now, because the traditional vector of attacks are very effective. Come on, let's be honest. I don't have to go for AI because I can do my targets with the traditional ways. But anyway, we need to analyze it. We need to see what can happen. So, just speaking hypothetically, let's imagine, for example, this kind of attacks, like everybody of you are aware, I'm sure, like phishing. Phishing is quite effective attack nowadays, but it's not so effective like spear phishing, which is targeted especially for one person, but it also takes more time to prepare this kind of attack. And if we can imagine that artificial intelligence is preparing this kind of spear phishing, then we have mass spear phishing.
So that would be, let's say, equivalent of having this mass personalization. Yeah, we say we have mass personalization,
yes, exactly,
in the commerce, and then in the threats you can have massively, in a
yes,
scalable way, personalized
yes,
attacks.
Yes, and then based on this like very simple example, we can imagine that those future vector attacks, which are powered by artificial intelligence, would be more effective, would be more cheap, will be just cheaper and easily to run. So the amount of potential bad actors will also rise. So taking on account that the cybersecurity and cyber criminal market is worth like $60 billion, and it's rising all the time, we can imagine that it could be really like beneficiary way of earning money. Yeah. So this is very important. And another thing that I want to raise, it's some kind connected with what's Bolesław was talking. It's about responsibility, because we can imagine that with the artificial intelligence we have something like this psychological distance. Because we need to take into account that this artificial intelligence with the dual use. So, for example, we can build a drone which will need to deliver some medicine, but in the same way, it's deliver like explosions. Yes, it's the same way. So, with the artificial intelligence, I am not the one who is pulling the trigger. So, this psychological distance will like bring the new vector attacks which are not available today.
It's just like the discussion about autonomous weapons, yeah, which is,
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So we have growing threats. I believe that it also means for people here and many startups that it means there will be a lot of need, a big market for cyber defense as well, yeah, because whenever the threats appear, there is also an opportunity to build solutions for cyber defense, yeah.
With this, just one more. With this artificial intelligence, we need to remember that this is the dual use. When we projecting and we're building something in a good way, we need to be aware that it can be used in a bad way.
Actually, I was recently thinking about one case, because we know in Polish it's called metoda na wnuczka. It's a kind of a fraud where someone calls, especially elderly people, and says, well, dear grandpa, I'm in a shop, can you send me some money? Yeah? And actually, with the technology of a deep fake, I just wonder, how would I behave if I got a call from my wife and heard her voice and I could see her talking to me? Yeah, would I be able to, detect that it's actually generated bot? Yeah,
with AI, it is possible.
And it's possible today with AI. Piotr, so from the practical perspective, we talk about AI a lot now, and how do you think where actually we are going to use AI in projects? How do you see where today AI is being applied in the projects? What specific fields of use?
Yeah, I think the specific area where we are applying AI is the efficiency in general, I would say. Yeah. Today we are generating lots of data, and we are not able to process this information, and we need support. We need some kind of advisor just to extract information from this huge amount of data. And their example is, for example, if you want to inspect, analyze all the medical pictures, and all capable physicians can do this during 1 second, for 1 second during 8 hours. So the number of data is much bigger than specialists we have at the moment. So this is another thing where this AI system should be applied. This is where we are missing hands to work, yeah? So we need skilled people to analyze pictures, for example, and AI in this area is extremely efficient. It's more efficient than a human being. There's a research that the humans can make mistakes when recognizing objects on the picture. It's about 5%. The systems can do this with the failure in 2%. So the system is much better, it's not tired. That's another thing. And another thing is the processing natural language, documents in natural language. Let's imagine that during today, probably more than 1,000 scientific documents has been published. So that means that there is no human forces just to read everything and analyze. So even for a specific domain. So AI applies in analyzing these documents, creating abstract, and provide some insights to experts in order to go deeper. And that means to support, not replace, support people in obtaining new knowledge. So I think that's the major areas where we apply AI. But it was mentioned on the previous presentation. In February we released Debater. This is a system which is able to debate with the people, and can provide arguments and facts. It is not just a question and answer. This is a explanation of the nature of the problem. So at the moment, systems are capable to do this. So I think this is another area where we can use machines to understand better what information is inside data. And we can use such a kind of systems in the future.
That's very inspiring, and actually we have a lot of inspiring cases. This is exactly the moment that every startup and every VC and CVC should pay full attention to this, because it's like with the radiologist, yeah? As long as AI is a bit worse than radiologists, it cannot be applied at all. because everybody will say, okay, it doesn't give us effect because anyway radiologists have to verify the results. But once it becomes better than radiologists, then it means, okay, it's full disruption in 1 second, because no one will trust radiologists to look at my CTRs, yeah? Because AI will do it cheaper, faster, better in 1 second, and at scale able to deliver this health service to billion people.
Yeah, I can, sorry for interruption, but I can confirm your statement. At the end of the last year, we announced the service which is able to produce some kind of analysis for AI system. So we can detect the biases and we can provide information to the user, what kind of data need to be provided in order to reduce the bias of the system. So this is one of the tools which will help to improve the future AI systems. And I think this is more and more such tools will appear on the market very soon.
Yes. Okay, to sum up what you said, I think I will rephrase also what Olga realized, yeah? It's like, again, 2 years ago, if you invested in some technologies, it was too early. You probably would fail, you would have too big cost to deliver some technologies, and if you are going to do it in 2 years, it will be too late. So yeah, so I think one conclusion from this discussion is that today is the moment to take a very close look at the AI, because it will be disruptive to all industries you've mentioned, like law, agriculture, military. And if you miss that window, probably you will never be able to get on that boat again. And the second question that we have to answer ourselves is, how are we going to ensure that the power of AI will also be, let's say, applied to social causes, yeah? Not only to building, let's say, business that will get all radiologists out of the job, but how we actually going to distribute this immense power that AI will bring us. Okay, final statement, I would like to ask, to thank again to Coalition of Polish Innovation for having opportunity to have this discussion and have you here, and for the invitation. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, hands
Thank you.
together for our panelists and our moderator.